On the interview show, all share one thing in common. They take risks. We'd like to thank Lifeway Foods, makers of probiotic kefir, for making possible this week's It Takes Guts interview.
One of the things that it seems that Ebony and Ebony and Jet Online and Jet can do is it can be a conversation amongst black people in this country. And yet, I don't know if this is a danger, and this is what I want to ask you about. It's not a completely private conversation because anybody can go to the website. If you say something that's controversial, that's going to get out there, especially now. So how do you deal with that? How do you make it, yeah, this is a real conversation in this community, and yet, hey, it's an open conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can do anything about that. And one of the things that we have to do is like troll patrol. So whenever we put up any article, you state anything, whether it's a fact or not, you know that within about 5 minutes, the trolls will be there and they will take over that comment section like nobody's business. And it's no longer, you have to get the letter to the editor. They can just instantaneously get at you. I know I put something up on Twitter about an anchor who I think made some really horrible racist comments about some young men because of a crime that happened in her town. I'm thinking this is fairly innocuous, and everybody probably agrees that if you're a news anchor, you should not go on your Facebook page and play CSI and pretend to know the profile of every black man in America. Well, I guess I was wrong, because about 100 people came after me. They were calling me all these names. There is no way to have, as you referenced, that private conversation. But I actually think it's good, because one of the things that I will say about the whole Trump nation is that it did get the conversation out there and in the open. People were kind of into this lull, like, oh, it's post-racial, we're all good, look at this. And then all of a sudden you find out that there are a bunch of people who feel like they've been disenfranchised, and you're like, wait, what? I'm looking at these statistics, what are you guys seeing? Working at Ebony, I see them every day.
Did any black person think other than Lil Wayne, think we're post-racial?
You know what? I'm so embarrassed by Lil Wayne right now. I don't even really want to talk about Lil Wayne. I've taken him like...
Let me throw out these 10 questions. These are all Lil Wayne questions in here.
Because it's like, I cleared him out of my Spotify. I don't know. It's like, other than Lil Wayne, who claims he was agitated when he made these ridiculous comments about, black lives don't matter to him, and, oh God. Yeah. But anyway... I do think there are some black people, we haven't found a lot of them, that do, agree with many things that Trump says. They admire him. They think he's doing great things. They've been in his casino. They've been in his hotel. I don't think they've been listening to what he said or watching how they're treated at rallies, but they really think that there's something to this, I'm a self-made man, which I don't get because he inherited his money.
Yeah.
One of the things that we face at Ebony is that we want to be that voice, we want to provide a conversation, but we really want to make sure that it's a productive and a healthy conversation, because when it's people yelling and screaming at each other and there's discord, I have a lot of Facebook friends who are unfriending each other over the election season, and it's pretty sad because it means that we cannot find a practical way to communicate with each other. We can't even hear each other's side. Now, there's nobody I know who's going to communicate with you if you don't mind bigotry. That's just silly. But, how have we reached this point where people are rejoicing because there's a picture of George W. Bush hugging First Lady Michelle Obama, because it's almost unheard of now because the sides are just so far apart. There's not even just the collegial, like, we're in this together as Americans. It's literally, leave the country if you don't like it. And I think that's what I find most chilling. Because if we've got to leave, everybody's got to go. I'm sorry. There's very few people that'll be left if we all have to go based on when we got here. So,
The other thing that has always been hard, and in many cases people didn't want to have it, is a conversation about race. And it's, that's obviously going to involve white people, black people, Latino people, Asian people, everybody can have a discussion about race. But what we have, and you just pointed to this, is we have this culture in which it's so easy to say something, even if you don't mean to be inflammatory,
right,
that you're going to get attacked. And so what you ended up having, and I'm sure it's 1,000 times worse for blacks and Hispanics and Asians than it is for white people to fear saying something, but there's fear all around, and so you get the two extremes, and you don't get anybody. You get people who are reasonable saying, I don't want to tread into these waters.
Yeah, you do get that. That's a byproduct of it. I think that what we just have to learn is, I think it's kind of about the whole melting pot idea. I think the melting pot idea sounds good on paper, but it's really not. Because what it means is that everybody has to be the same homogenous thing. And if you're not willing to just say, I'm an American first, and then whatever else, second or third or fourth, people get mad at you. That's why we're looking at the instance with Colin Kaepernick not standing up for the anthem, and everybody wants to choke him because of this. There's nobody that's saying, or not many people that are seeing his side and saying, man, he's trying to make a statement. He's trying to get people to see a scourge that's affecting this country.
Which
he's
is
not
American.
an American.
To take a stand is
right.
American.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So if to take a stand as American, how is he non-American? What are you doing by trying to silence someone? He's not stopping you. Now, I could see if he was tackling people that were standing up.
He's the quarterback, so he doesn't do that.
But he might, He's bigger than we are. He could tackle us, until I see him, like, forcibly seating other people, let him do what he's doing. And I don't understand the anger that comes from that. It does not make any sense. And I think we've just gotten to a point where everybody is shrieking and nobody is listening. And that's what I think is the most sad aspect of this entire debacle.
I am obviously not the demographic for Ebony.
You're not?
No.
You are too the demographic for Ebony.
But I enjoyed it.
You should read Ebony. Everybody should read Ebony.
That's my question. Should everybody read Ebony?
Yes, they should. But I think everyone should read publications because of different, different niche areas, because you could learn something. I mean, that's the whole point, is that we have these people and they're all off in their little foxhole and they're, oh, that's not for me. I'm not going to pay attention to that. I read everything, so I think everyone else should. Come on.
So one thing, I want to say one thing that I did learn.
What did you learn?
Here's what I learned today.
What did you learn?
Kyra, I learned the issue I read was the men's issue.
Yes, very nice.
And you had in your editor's note at the beginning, you talked about something that happened at Northwestern, and we both went to Northwestern, and it was about how you would have a kind of a celebration or a variety show celebrating the men on the campus, the black men on the campus,
right?
And it would also happen vice versa.
Yes.
I went to Northwestern. I knew nothing about that.
I'm so sorry you did not get that invite.
No, that's cool. That's cool. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm hurt, and that's why I brought you on the show to tell you.
I'm sorry.
No, but this is a couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year. There was a woman wrote an article who had also gone to Northwestern, a black woman who went to Northwestern, and she was talking about how awful a place it had been for her and how alienated she felt from the general Northwestern scene. And I remember being really sad because I was surprised, sad for my kind of like upset with myself that I did not know that. And you think, okay, if there's a place where a black church is being vandalized, okay, those parts, that part of the country is where black people feel pretty uncomfortable. But Northwestern, like, hey, we know what we're talking about, and we're so smart and we're so enlightened. But it turns out that might not be true.
No, actually, I hate to burst your bubble, but the
bubble's already
when
burst.
I was there, I remember there was an engineering student that was riding home on his bicycle, and he had a poster holder. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, to keep your poster intact. And the campus police tackled him and beat him up. And this was like within months of me getting to this school. And we were just astonished. I mean, you hear about Black Lives Matter right now because it's an official movement, but that has always been something that has been needed. There's no way, and I know this, that any other student riding home on a bike with a poster board case would have been attacked like that. So we do live in different realities, and that, I guess, is why I'm saying that we need to bridge the gap more often and not just make it around election time, around something specific, because we really don't know each other. You were living on one part of campus, I'm living on the other, but it's almost like we were in two different worlds, right? So I am very familiar with that, and unfortunately I had similar experiences to that myself. But I will say this, I think that because we have Twitter, because we have all these different platforms, people are more apt to put it in the spotlight, and some people are surprised by it. But I think now that surprise is going to, maybe that is what's happening. And then hopefully the next step is, maybe there's something I can do to help. Because I think that's the key. If you didn't experience it, it's kind of hard to explain. But now that everybody's explaining it, you're running out of excuses. You know, there are some people who will never believe it, and I hate to call somebody a lost cause, or as was referenced earlier, a basket of deplorables. But really, I think at this point, if you don't know, it's because you don't want to know.
Yeah. So I think we've covered the great and the awful of social media.
Yes.
It
can be both.
Yeah.
You haven't lived until you've gotten a good Twitter dragging. You know, that is like an experience that I would not wish on anyone. You're just looking at your time like, oh, wow, okay. Ah, damn, they hate my hair. They hate everything about me. You know, it's like, that's why I'll never say anything about Beyonce. Fiance, the queen, right? I don't care what she does. Never. So.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. The magazine is great, and I'm going to start.
You should.
Yeah.
Everybody start, okay?
Kyra Kyles.
All right. Thank you.